Welcome to the Releasing Community podcast. This is where we share our love for releasing and the Sedona method. We share our experiences, benefits, insights, and gains, which sound pretty similar all. I am Katja Törmänen, and I'm hosting this podcast with Stephen Robert Carlson.
You're doing a great job. Glad to be here.
Lovely to have you as co-host. And today our guest is Rhonda Hunt. Rhonda is a licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of California. She's also a certified life coach and Sedona method facilitator. In her avid, I forgot. I tried to memorize your description that you've given, but I sometimes make it my own, so it's maybe better I read a little bit. In her avid quest for truth and healing, she found the Sedona method in 2013. She attended her first live retreat the same year and the first facilitator training in October 2016. She has been using the Sedona method in her personal growth journey ever since. She's also using the Sedona method in her practice to teach the clients how to support themselves in navigating emotions by using the Sedona method releasing techniques. Rhonda, so lovely to have you here. Welcome.
It's so nice to be here. I do love the Sedona method, so I'm happy to share and talk about it with both of you.
So let's start with the question we always start, which is how exactly did you find Sedona method?
Okay, so I'll give you the abridged version. So I was not in a good place in my life, and I had done a lot of self-help. I had done a lot of personal growth in secular realms and in also spiritual realms. So my life has been focused on healing for decades, but I was still in a really not a good place in my life. I met who is now my husband, but he wasn't then. I met him and he could see that I was struggling with some things in my life. And so he said, "Oh, I have the CD you have to listen to. It's called Introduction to the Sedona Method."
Wow.
Yes. And so we were sitting in a car and he put the CD in the car. That's when cars had CD players in them. And I was kind of resistant because I was just like, I'm so over self-help. I'm so done with it. No, I don't want to listen. But then I was like, okay, fine, put it in. And so then we listened, and it was Hale, of course, and he was talking about the Sedona method, and he did the whole pen analogy in the introduction, and something clicked with me. It was like he said something that really touched my heart, and it's something I had never heard before. So it was like, how can I do decades of self-healing, never hear this before? He said, "You are not your feelings." And I was like, oh, I just got the chills right now. I was just like, whoa, wait, what? I've never heard that before. And so after I listened to that CD, I listened to it again. I listened to it again. I was like, okay, I need to find out what this is. So that's how I found the Sedona method.
That is brilliant. So your nowadays husband also uses Sedona method?
He does. He goes to the retreats with me, and he's not like as, into it as I am. He's into it, but I'm more like avid with like reading the books and listening to the releases and that kind of thing. But yes, he does.
This is a love story. Am I hearing that right?
Yes. A love story with the Sedona method and a love story with my husband. Yes.
Oh, I want to ask other questions too, but I have to ask like right away, how has having releasing from the day one affected, or nearly day one, affected your relationship?
I feel that the Sedona method, like, obviously enhances our relationship tremendously,
Hmm.
supports our relationship, helps. Like, I actually can't imagine being partnered with someone who doesn't do the Sedona method. No,
Yes.
no offense to anyone out there who is, but it's just
Mhm.
like, because, learning how to release some of these things that are happening in the relationship can be really helpful. Otherwise, we just carry it with us and we have this whole laundry list of things that we're pissed off at our partners about. And so it really helps keep things like in the here and the now. It's been really good.
So do you use it in a kind of everyday situations? Like, do you say to each other if someone is getting angry or irritated, like, could you let that go? Or is it just inner work that you do?
Yes, it's mostly inner work at this
Mhm.
point. We have been doing it for about 10 years,
Mhm.
but we do release together, which is really helpful. And he's been like my partner in like all this practice releasing I'm doing. So he's getting a lot of releasing in.
Ah,
And so yes, it is helpful. And he understands the process. So like if he'll say, "Do you want to release?" And I say no, he's fine with that. If he says, "Do you want to release?" and I say yes, then we release.
mm. Oh,
Because
that is
sometimes
good.
I don't feel like it. I want to be mad or whatever.
Yeah, sometimes it seems to be a better option for a while, at least for a while.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And usually then we just end up laughing and release anyway, right?
Yes. Ah. So you attended your first live retreat almost right away then?
Yes. So, okay, so he had that introductory CD, but
Mhm.
he had gone to this conference where it was like all the teachers from The Secret,
Mhm.
and he had purchased everybody's merchandise. So
Wow.
he called it shelf help. He had shelves of these CDs and teachings and things, but he had never listened to them. That's
Mhm.
why he called them shelf help. So then he said, "Well, if you like this, I have these 20 CDs." He had the super course on CDs. And I was like, "Yes, where are they? Get them out." And so we ended up listening to the 20 CDs,
Mhm.
and I listened to them like multiple times. I was obsessed. And then he said, "Okay, we've listened to the 20 CDs. Let's go to the conference." So we went to our first conference in June 2013, and it was amazing. It was on happiness. It was the
Mhm.
happiness conference. I think that was the first conference Hale ever recorded,
Oh.
or at least he might have
Mhm.
recorded other conferences, but this one, was it a hybrid where some people were at home? No, but he did record it. Yeah.
Mm.
So he was getting into the technology of the time and stuff.
Ah, yes. I started the same year, 2013, yeah.
Yeah.
But it took me 2 years to get to the first retreat. It was in person. But while I was doing it by myself the 2 years, I noticed that I was doing it mainly what Hale calls being, what was the expression? Being releaser from the neck up, something like that,
Mhm.
in my head. And I noticed a
Mhm.
huge difference when I got to the first retreat and like really felt the opening kind of happening even after the retreat. So did you notice you had been doing the super course, which I had also listened? You went to the retreat. Did you kind of get to right away next level experience? So did you notice a difference compared to this listening to the CDs on your own?
For sure, I noticed a difference. Um, I mean, there's nothing like a live retreat.
Mm.
I appreciate even, the video retreats and so on, the telehealth
Mm.
retreats. Those are great. But I don't know, you guys have both been to live retreats, and it's
Mhm.
like there's just something different about it, us all being in the same room,
Yes.
and working with Hale directly face to face. And working with partners in the room face to face. Definitely profound, life-changing experience. I was just like, after that first retreat, you know how he always, says, okay, sign up for 2 more retreats, you get a discount. I mean, I've done that every single time I've been at a retreat. I'm like, I'm signing up for the next one already. So I've been to quite a few retreats.
Yes, I would then think, that's so beautiful. Even
Yeah.
during the first one I did, I remember thinking that, like, why do these people come here again and again?
Okay, that was the first thing my husband asked. I think he asked, it was either Tim or David, one of the other Sedona Method instructors. I think it might have been David, but I'm not sure. It doesn't matter. But he was like, we just got here and everyone's already talking about coming back. What? He was just so like, we're not coming back. We're going to be cured after this.
Oh, yes.
It was funny. And by the end of the retreat, he's like, okay, I get it. Yeah, we're coming back.
Yes, yeah. Well, I signed up for the next one too, and still after I think it was my second retreat when I realized that, okay, it's no point thinking, when will I stop needing the retreats? I will just keep on coming as long as it feels like it. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. I remember, okay, so that was about 10 years ago. I was a completely different person 10 years ago. I was like a deer in the headlights. I was really living survival mode living. I really was like in survival mode, just like trying to keep my head above water. And so that first retreat just being so profound, even just that first CD, learning like I am not my feelings, and going, and then Hale says things like, you are whole, complete, and enough already as you are. And even though I didn't understand completely what he was talking about then, I was like, I've never heard that before either. That is cool. Like, okay, if it's true, I want to know. And so of course over time I realized what he's talking about. But just to hear somebody say that you are whole, complete, and enough, it was just like, okay, this is awesome. This is healing. I like this.
It's incredibly validating to feel that, isn't it?
Yes, very validating. I mean, we don't hear that a lot. I mean, more and more in our culture, with more teachers on Instagram and everything, we're hearing it in different ways and we're hearing it more. But 10 years ago, I wasn't hearing that. I don't think that many people were.
There's a whole nother aspect when somebody is facilitating you and you have the permission to experience what is coming up. And okay, well, maybe I don't really want to actually believe that I feel this way, but it's okay to feel this way. And that other person is just offering the space for it to be.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Yes, very powerful. That's another thing I learned from retreats. So, I mean, because I'm a therapist, this stuff has really helped me as a practitioner as well. It's helped me profoundly as an individual. And I probably would have quit being a therapist, honestly. I was like ready to chuck it all. I'm just like, can't do it. But finding the Sedona method actually like reinvigorated me. And it's like, this is so cool. I can bring this to my clients, And it's like, and even if they don't really take to it or want to go that far with it, it's like, I can still say to my clients, you are whole and complete and enough. We're just working on the stuff that's appearing in your life right now. But that's not who you are. I can say that much to them, and that's life-changing.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Like at some of the retreats, Hale will just have us sit there and look at each other and not say anything, right? And of course, like at first you're kind of squirming and you're like, oh, that's so uncomfortable. I hate this. I hate this. But then after a while you settle into it and you become still. And it's just like, wow, really powerful. And that's where I learned, like, no words are necessary. Just like being present with someone, sitting in a room, being present with someone is one of the most powerful things you can do to support them. You don't have to say anything. And that's something I learned at the retreats. That was very profound.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
kind of a rare places where you can even practice that, because most places have something you need to do there. And I think it, at least for me, it helps to kind of they usually aren't the first exercises on a retreat, so you kind of have settled into the releasing mode, or you kind of notice the trust and love and acceptance there is, so it's easier. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Well, and he lets us talk about our apparent problems
Yes.
for the first days of the retreat. And at every retreat, I'm like, oh, good, I'm going to go first so I can talk about my apparent problems. I want to talk about my problems.
So you've been using it for 10 years. You were a therapist already when you found Sedona method. Okay.
Yes, I was
So-
a therapist for about 10 years before before I found the Sedona method.
Okay. So how has your therapy changed during? You are obviously using Sedona method now. Have you? How does the difference show?
Yeah, it's changed a lot more from me, like, internally. Like, I show up to the room very different
Mhm.
now than I did 20 years ago. I still do therapy, obviously. I still use therapeutic techniques, but like I said, I definitely introduce concepts from the Sedona method. I tell my clients about the Sedona method. I have the book in my office, I tell them about the book. I teach them the basic concepts of releasing. And then if they are open to it, which about 25% of them are, not everyone's open to it. They are, and not to dismiss them or in any way. I always want to honor my clients, but they're still in the story of they're still wanting to make their life better, which I understand. And so they're looking to me for therapeutic techniques. They might not be ready for the Sedona method, and that's okay too. But I approach it in a much more holistic way, I would say. As I'm sitting there, I see them as whole and complete and enough. Before, I think I used to buy into their stories, and want to help them, want to fix their stories, and I don't anymore. Which I think that's why I wanted to quit being a therapist, because I thought I was responsible for the outcome of my patients and how they were doing. And I have to, if they're not fixed, then I'm not a good therapist. But now I recognize that's not true. I don't have to do any of that, right? Just showing up and, again, being present with them and seeing them as whole and complete and enough. That's a lot. So I think that's a big way it's different for me as a practitioner.
Incredibly powerful. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I have found it to be incredibly powerful.
As a facilitator, one of the first things that we learn, I think, is that, well, it's not us facilitating, in fact. I had the experience of a friend who was in trouble and just needed support. And this was during the pandemic. He kept on calling me day after day after day. I tried in the beginning to facilitate and so forth, and he was totally resistant. But then I just switched to just simply allowing and just being with him. And that just had a terrific response.
Yes.
In fact, I also found that the more that I actually try to accomplish something with people, that kicks up resistance. Right.
For sure. Yes.
So this is up to your game as a therapist.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think I'm just getting better and better, like with the Sedona method as my companion, my co-therapist. I felt like I always say the Sedona method helped me raise my children too. It's like I feel like the Sedona method was my co-parent. I was a much better parent, I think, after I found the Sedona method. Well, I guess we could ask my children, but they're not here, so you'll have to take my word for it.
No, I trust you there. I had a statement from my own son when he was 17, and I had been doing releasing for a few years, and he kind of without me asking or even talking about the topic, he said that I'm not sure what you're doing over there with that thing, which is Sedona method, but keep doing it because you're much better company these days.
Uh-huh.
And I clarified, like, you mean I was more in an angry or bad mood earlier? And he was, being a wise young man that he was like, well, those are your words, not mine. But he admitted that I had been much grumpier earlier. So
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a story I tell. So when my son was in high school, we had a very long commute to take him to high school because he went to like a special performing arts high school, but whatever, that's neither here nor there. So we get in the car, we're going on this long commute. We get to school. He doesn't have his shoes. He has no shoes on his feet. And I was just like, I was so angry. This is going to ruin my day. You know, I have to get to work. Well, I have clients. I have I can't drop the kid off at school with no shoes. Now what do I do? Right. So I'm like driving. I'm driving my daughter to school, went to a different school. I'm driving and I'm just like releasing. And I was just like, okay, first of all, I want to kill him. I want to kill him. Could I acknowledge I want to kill him? Yes. And this was all going inside my head, right? He had no idea. And I was just like, could I let go of this? Could I let go of wanting this to ruin my day? And I was like, yes. And I just kept letting go. I just kept talking to myself, asking myself the releasing questions. And honestly, about 2 or 3 sessions of releasing, 2 or 3 sets of releasing, I was just like, this doesn't have to be a big deal. Why am I so upset about it? You know? And what I ended up doing was just like taking him to his dad's house. His dad took care of the shoe issue, and I had a great day. But I feel like if I hadn't released, I wouldn't have thought clearly of like what I need to do to help my son and also help myself. Instead, I would have just like railed on him, gotten mad at him, you know, punished him for not having his shoes on his feet. So that's definitely a big way at how the Sedona method has helped me be a better parent. It's helped me manage my own emotions that come up around parenting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the kids kind of take care of themselves in a way. It's kind of
Here's a question.
managing.
If I could ask both of you, do you actually facilitate your children at any point? Does that also take place?
That's a really good question. No. I've tried. I've gently tried to introduce it. You know, they know what they know about it. I talk about it with them. But at this point in their lives, they're not that open to it, which is okay. And Hale always says, don't force it, you know, and I remember that. Don't force it. Yes, because then it'll just cause resistance. So, no, not yet, but hopefully down the road.
Oh,
what about for you, Katya? Do you get to facilitate with your kid?
Well, not exactly. Son has been some of my Zoom calls when I started doing this kind of representing what Sedona method is. He participated a few of those. They both have I wrote this book in Finnish about Sedona method. They both have it. I think Son has actually read some of it. I have done a few processes. They are kind of, when they've really kind of, there's been some situation and they are open to it on and off, but not like as a regular basis. But
Yeah.
but kind of they are very kind of they are passively kind of releasing, because they get to hear so much of me and I talk about it all the time. So
Yeah.
they know that.
That's how I usually present it with my kids. Like, like what really, what's really helped me is when I'm feeling this way, I release,
Yes.
and I'll even say, do you want me to just listen? Do you want to vent, or do you want to release? And they'll usually say, I just want to talk right now, but I will definitely share like how it's helped me in situations.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
planting seeds, that's how I see it, is sort of planting seeds, and eventually they'll sprout.
Yes, exactly. So, would you say, you said that is one of that is a huge gain, being a better parent, a more released parent. So, what are the other
Yeah.
gains or changes you saw and after starting using this?
Yeah. That's a great question. I just feel like so many gains. I just feel like it changed my life. Well, it did change my life. Some of the bigger gains that I feel really like, when Hale asks for, gains at the end of workshops and things, like I've written about them because they've been so amazing. So when I came to the Sedona method, I was actually estranged from my mother. And I had some issues to work through. We had a rough relationship. And I had not spoken to her for 13 years, like literally not a word. And when I first got to the Sedona method, I just assumed our relationship was over, that it just was a done deal. But over the course of, and again, this did not happen overnight, but over the course of doing the method, doing the releasing, going to the conferences, getting my own healing, like understanding who I am in the world, I was able to like forgive my mom for whatever grievances I had. And I wrote her a letter and she responded. And we have a relationship now. We actually are friends. We hang out. I go visit her. I love her. We have a great relationship. And believe me, that's a shocker. That is a real shocker. And I do attribute it to the Sedona method, because I realized I didn't need her to be different in order to have a relationship with her. And all my life, I always wanted her to be different than she was. And so when I could just accept her as she was, not need her to be different, I'm different. I come to the relationship in a different way. And it's been really great. I'm really happy about it. I would say that's one of the bigger gains.
That's a massive gain. That's huge.
It's huge. It's huge. I really never thought I'd see my mom again. And then like with healing my mom's relationship, that also healed some of my other family relationships that were strained, not necessarily estranged, but strained because of that. Because I have two brothers, and they both have families. And so it was a big rift in the family. And so even just healing the relationship with my mom, that also had a domino effect and brought healing to many other relationships in my life. And I feel like I have a family again. Like I felt like I was familyless back then. I didn't have a family other than the one I created with my children and so on. But so that's a huge gain.
Yes.
Yes, huge. And then I would say another amazing gain is just like the ability to, this is gonna, I don't know what it sounds like, the ability to take care of myself. I know that sounds, maybe that sounds weird. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't, but I wasn't taking care of myself. And the Sedona method has really helped me like care about myself, even though there is no me, there is no Rhonda in a body, but I still take care of Rhonda in the body way better than I used to. And so that's helped a lot. I mean, emotionally, I'm healthy. Physically, I'm really healthy. I walk every day, and these are things I was not doing. I'm sober. I don't drink. I'm clean and sober. I don't have to do any chemical substances to get through the day. And honestly, I attribute that to the Sedona method.
Was that something that was an issue before? Substances, addiction, anything?
I wouldn't say I was an addict per se, but I would say alcohol became a problem for sure, especially during the pandemic. And it was just like, I don't want to do this anymore, you know? And through releasing, I was able to just find other strategies to help me deal with whatever stress I was feeling, whatever upset I was feeling, whatever tendencies I had towards self-soothing and self-destructive ways. It's like, I don't need to be self-destructive anymore. You know, the Sedona method helped me like recognize that like there's a lot of wonderful ways I can take care of myself. And they're way more fun too. Trust me, way more fun. They feel way better. And I love it. I have more energy than I ever had, like even more energy than I had when I was at 20. I feel like the Sedona method has given me like my energy level back, honestly.
Wow.
I used to have to take naps during the day and I was so fatigued, so low energy. It's kind of like the chart of emotions, like, right? Like apathy, grief, fear. I was living in that place of like apathy, grief, fear for a long time. And I feel like through releasing, now maybe I'm up to like courageousness.
That's good.
Pride. Do I dare say pride, courageousness, acceptance? So it's like work through that chart. Yeah.
There's something, I wonder if you've noticed this. It seems to me that as we release, you know, we're letting go of emotions which may be trapped for decades, right? The energy of these emotions. And something that I say to clients and something that I experience, I think, is that as we release, as this energy passes through, then it becomes available. It becomes part of our power. Would you?
Yes, for sure. For sure. Because like how Hale talks about the chart of emotions, like the first three states of emotion, the apathy, the grief, and the fear is like, there's inertia in it. It like pulls you down. It's dark and dense and heavy. And then it's like, as you work through the other, you know, lust, anger, pride, there's more energy in that. And it's like, okay, so you start to feel energized, but you're still, you know, like he said, it's still limiting, right? And so then as we get to like courageousness and acceptance and peace, it's like, I love what he says about that. Really struck me at a conference once, because he teaches this stuff at conferences too. It's like when he talked about peace having the highest level of energy in it, but it's at rest. So it's like it's accessible to you, right? Whenever you need it, but you're at rest. So it feels good. It feels like calm. But then when you need to kick into action, it's there for you. For sure.
You mentioned the pandemic, and I know for me that was really an interesting period because I was able to see really, it was kind of a gain in the sense that everybody around me was going crazy, it felt. And I didn't have that same reaction. Can you speak maybe about your experiences in the pandemic?
I definitely handled it way better than I would have 10 years ago. Let's just say that. I definitely had some things come up because I had like children in school, and my husband, didn't want to get sick, and I was interacting more with people, and so like we weren't as close as we wanted to be, and so it caused some issues for me, definitely, but I was able to handle them much better because of releasing. I was able to navigate them. I was able to rely on the resources, the tools of releasing to help me through it. But I wouldn't say I just sort of floated above what was happening. I wouldn't say that. It definitely, I had some of my own struggles during the pandemic. But coming out of the pandemic, I feel like the Sedona method has helped me like exponentially like grow even from like the end of the pandemic. I feel like even from the end of the pandemic, I feel like a different person. The end of the pandemic. Yeah. So although I didn't feel like it was effortless or easy during the pandemic, I definitely, again, would attribute my being able to cope with it because of the Sedona method.
Well, you mentioned giving up the alcohol, or at least having a better relationship with that. So
Yeah, for sure.
would you say that then, of course, the pandemic brought up issues such as that, but then you were able to actually use that for us? How can you say that? Sort of a springboard for growth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Rather than just a horrible experience.
Right. No, exactly. It brought things to the surface so I could deal with them and let them go. Because I had learned 10 years ago that I am not my feelings. I'm not my thoughts. And that's where it continues on, right? Like I think the first introduction, it's really nice to hear you're not your feelings. But then you realize, later discover, well, I'm not my thoughts either. I'm not what I believe either. I'm not my patterns and tendencies. I'm none of it, so I can let it all go. So yes, it helped me to let go of patterns of behavior that were not helpful to me.
Yeah, I think it
And
was in a way that we kind of the circles were so small for most of the people that you had to face what your patterns are and how you go on your daily life. You just can't kind of be distracted or avoid them or hide anywhere from them. They were there. So in that
yeah,
sense, it probably was. And then people did whatever they did to try to keep sane. So I
hmm
definitely noticed how useful the releasing was during those years. So
yeah,
yeah, and it's
yes,
in a way I find it's really comforting thinking that yeah, it doesn't really matter what it is on the happening. Definitely it doesn't matter what's happening on the surface. It's the inner state, or it's not an inner way, but how you feel, where you get kind of where your action flows from, that matters, not the outer madness or lack of it.
yes.
You mentioned we've had, actually, I think in the podcast, we've already had several people talking about how the method has helped them in their relationship with their parents, me including, I think Stephen included.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of, when I'm speaking with so-called non-releasers, it's so fun to see how people tend to have, and how I thought also beforehand, that certain relationships are beyond repairing, like that's how they are. And it wasn't acceptance as such, it was giving up, and kind of noticing the difference has really been a
Yeah,
big difference.
for sure. It's like when I think about my mom, like I said already, like I let go of wanting her to be a certain way.
Mm.
She is definitely the same person. Okay. She has all the same personality quirks, says the same thing she used to say before. Nothing's changed there. But the huge part that changed is I don't take any of it personally anymore. I used to take everything so personally. That's another thing the Sedona method has helped with, right? I used to take everything so personally. And I used to take everything as a personal affront, like that she's just a mean person, right? And it's like, she still says things that are mean, but it's kind of funny now. Like, it doesn't impact me at all. I just think it's funny. I laugh. I'm just like, oh, mom, and it's like a huge difference. Because if I was taking everything personally still, there's no way we wouldn't have a relationship. And so, the letting go of the wants, that's another thing I did for a whole year. I know this sounds insane, extreme. For a whole year, I let go of wanting approval because I was like a pathological people pleaser. Like I would just bend over backwards to please everybody but myself. And I was a mess. And so I just thought, I'm going to let go of wanting other people's approval. So for an entire year, I was like, this is my year. I'm letting go of wanting approval. So it'd be like, I'm letting go of wanting the approval of the guy behind me in the car that's honking. I'm going to let go of wanting the approval of the Starbucks barista, Oh, I can't say they messed up my drink. That wouldn't be nice. Yes, I can. They messed up my drink, and just literally everyone I let go of wanting approval. That was so awesome. That's a great exploration. And I recommend that to everybody.
But let me guess. Did you find that people actually approved of you more after?
Of course, right? And it's like, I just felt better too. So it's like, even if they didn't, I don't think I'd even notice now, right? It's like, because I'm not like trying to get their approval. So I'm not reading their body language and their words and their facial expressions to see do they approve of me? Oh, wait, they're not smiling. Maybe they don't like me. It's like, I don't do that anymore. So that too is like another huge gain. Do I ever feel like I want someone's approval? Sometimes, yes, but I can let it go like immediately in the moment.
Oh, that is great. That sounded so familiar, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people, with the 4 wants, it's like approval, control, security, or separation. It's like a lot of people now sort of feel like control is the one they need to let go of. And of course I need to let go of that too. But I felt like approval was the one that always came up for me. What do you need to let go of? It was approval. Every time, approval. So when I finally was able to kind of clear that out, then it was like, oh yeah, now it's control. Yes, I want control, and so then it's, just sort of letting go of all those states of wanting a control and security. And yeah.
So
hey, have you guys ever seen this?
On a picture?
This is amazing. This is the workbook.
For the Supercourse?
Yes. And I don't even know if they make it anymore, but I bought it way back when. And it's like awesome. It's like the basic course. It's everything we need to know.
Actually, I can tell you, Rhonda, I was looking into it just the other day. They still sell it on the Sedona Method website. And
oh, good. Okay.
I can even tell you it's $30.
$30. Yeah, I recommend this for everybody. It's so good. And so then you can be your own releasing partner, right? When you're first learning the method. I like how Hale encourages people to get a journal, get a pencil, and just be your own releasing partner.
So you're saying there are exercises in there that you've found useful?
Yes. He works you through all the exercises of the four wants, wanting to change it, resistance, advantages and disadvantages, likes and dislikes. It's a nice resource. And then
So
what have you seen this one? Happiness is Free. I'm
Mhm.
all promoting all the books, which is
Yeah.
good.
Yes,
too.
that's an
I
excellent
love
book.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. That
Yes.
this is the one he gave this to us at that very first conference I ever went to because it was on happiness, and this was like we got this from that conference. That was awesome.
Wow.
Very
Yeah.
So do you do kind of you release on with paper and pen or just like mentally? How do you like to
I used
practice now?
to, like when I first started using the method, I did a lot of writing. I'm like an avid journaler.
Mm.
I just loved writing things out. So I did a lot of it on paper and pen
Mm.
for years. Not so much anymore, for one, I don't have as much time on my hands. But, now it does come more natural and effortless. It's just sort of ingrained in who I am now.
Yeah.
So it's just very spontaneous now. So I don't generally need to,
Mm.
but I probably still would if I did need to. I do like
Mm.
it.
I kind of found myself I've been journaling for years, but for some reason doing releasing on writing makes me super distracted.
Really?
Yeah, I think I'm resisting or something, but it doesn't work for me. At least for yet. Yet, who knows? It might change at some point, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I think like if specifically if you're releasing on goals, it's nice to
Mm.
do it with paper and pencil
Mm.
because then you can kind of like, okay, check, check, check. I released this, I released this. It's kind of nice to just have that little check to go on the paper that you released on whatever the action step is. You can release on all the action steps. And I don't know, I think that one it's kind of nice to have on paper because then you can write out your goal and everything. And it's a nice little process, but
Mm.
Yeah, I've done a
Yeah.
bit of both. I find that sometimes it does actually help to write things down for me as well. One
yeah.
exercise that I did, this is years and years ago, was letting go of or basically forgiving, each and every person that I'd ever had a relationship
Mhm.
with. I mean, anybody who had any significance in my life. And I found myself just writing down name after name after name after name after name for weeks, and releasing on each one of them. So that was a process.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it kind of can help get it out of your head. Just like get it on paper so it's not rattling around in your head.
For some of us, I think the process of writing actually sort of reinforces things. I don't know. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I found
Yeah.
that very powerful.
Yes, for
Mm.
sure.
But then you reach a point where releasing just becomes a state of being where, as the person cuts you off in traffic and you have that reaction, you go, ah, you see it and it just releases. Yeah.
For sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely a much calmer state of being today than I was 13 years ago or even 1 year ago. I feel like it's exponential too, like the progress. It's
Mhm.
kind of like what Hale was saying about the chart of emotions, like from um, pride, there's like a quantum leap to courageousness and acceptance and peace. And I definitely feel that quantum leap. It's like this exponential growth. And so it's like the ways that you needed to cope before because you were in apathy or grief or fear or whatever. And it was more of a struggle. It was harder, right? You had less energy to access. You had more of an I can't. And so it was like, I need this journal. I need this paper. I need this pencil because I can barely, you know, I don't know. My coping skills aren't there for me. So this was a nice coping skill. But as you take that quantum leap, it's like, oh, you're just being. You don't have to do. That's one of my favorite things that Hale says when, did you both take the facilitators training? You probably did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, you know, I have like the pre-facilitation releasing. And the one I really was drawn to was the one that just said, like, I allow my beingness to be, as the pre-facilitation. Some of them were much longer, and that one just resonated with me. And I use that actually every time before a client.
Yeah.
I allow my beingness to be. And so when you're just allowing beingness to be, yeah, you're already releasing.
Mm. Oh, it's beautiful. And just the way how Haley often begins, or every time his releases, just stop or pause and be. And even that is
Yes.
often enough that it starts to release.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
but
love
we are
that.
busy doing it on an everyday basis. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But it even shows up in these conversations we have on the podcast. Occasionally, the conversation will stop. And that's fine.
Yes. Just like in the live, you know, workshops when he has us look at each other, you know, and we're doing our one-on-one releasing with each other. And then after a while, the room starts out very energetic. And then after a while, just like, it's quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Have you done the exercise? He doesn't do it very much, but where he has you sit and look in each other's eyes and say, I am you, you are me. There is only one. There is no you, there is no me. There is only one.
I don't think I've done exactly that one, no. Yeah.
Yeah. That one. Have you done it, Stephen? Did he do it at the retreat? I can't remember.
I haven't done it like that. I've done eye gazing, which is similar. You're
Okay.
just looking into somebody else's eyes, and that can be very, very intense.
Yeah.
But to add that statement, no, I've never done that. I'd like to.
Yeah. No, it's really good. Yeah. So it's just, I am you, you are me. There is only one. There is no you, there is no me. There is only one. And my favorite part of that whole statement is like, there is no me. To me, that just like is freedom right there.
Right.
Right? There is no me. I have nothing to worry about. There is no me.
Well, that's the essence of me, is worry, having to be enough, having to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is nothing but trouble with that. Nothing but trouble. But then you realize, you know, and it's progressive, obviously, you know, but you just let go of that step by step. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I still notice kind of like when the life's been busy, and this autumn has brought me lots of releasing material, to say it mildly. So it can be kind of long patches of time, or they feel long patches of time, when I'm totally believing in me and my problems are real and this is real and blah, blah, blah. And then I really love that I have those kind of, I have releasing partners with whom I pair up, and I have my morning routine, and something that kind of stops me from kind of spiraling deeper and deeper into that. But it is kind of usually, not always, but usually getting easier to kind of snap out of it and see that it's, oh, I'm just believing believing the mind radio again. And
It's a bit like walking on the balancing beam. You fall off and then you get back on again.
yeah.
And the wonderful thing, though, I find is that to come together with people, with other releasers, like we're doing right now, and as we do in the releasing community, it's incredibly powerful. So we're all here to support each other. That's kind of a plug for the releasing community. You got that.
Yeah. It's a wonderful community to be a part of. The best.
Yeah, and there really seems to be so much. I'm kind of I don't know whether it's because I'm Finn or something else, but I'm kind of skeptical when people say they love something or I love being here or whatever. But in the releasing community with people in the Sedona method circles, it really feels that people are genuine when they are saying, I love this, and this is kind of real sharing and real authentic being. It feels true and authentic. So yes, it would be harder for me to say that in Finnish. We don't use the word love as liberally as as Americans or British use, but I definitely do love this method and this community and this work. It is a life changer, like you said, Rhonda.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have something that where you would like to take the method with you or use it more, or you have any goals for the method or as your therapist?
Yes, for sure. So I definitely, want to become a coach and instructor through the mentoring program. And yes, I would like to start working in that context as a Sedona method coach and instructor. And eventually, I haven't started one yet. I don't know if you guys are doing it, but a support call. Well, I'll be doing one in January. I'd like to start an ongoing support call as well.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I would like to be more active in the Sedona method community for sure, and sort of move in that direction in my life in a much bigger way. Yes.
It sounds a very good direction.
Yeah.
Go to.
Yes.
Mm. So to kind of wrap this up, though there are always so many things we could still talk, but is there something kind of some insight that has come to you that you kind of remind yourself often, or you share with other people when they ask what is this thing and why is it useful, the Sedona method?
Yeah. It depends on, I guess, if I'm, I'll take that question as like sharing it with someone who doesn't really know what it is, who hasn't been exposed to it. I keep it very basic, but one analogy I use, and you guys can tell me if it works or not, is because so in my early 20s I went to Europe, and I went on a tour. I was in Florence, and I went to the Uffizi, which is the museum where there's beautiful artwork, Botticelli, and there's Michelangelo's David, big, beautiful, glorious statue. And the tour guide was telling me that Michelangelo said that when, in his process, when he looked at the slab of marble, he didn't see a slab of marble. He saw David, and he just chipped away at everything that wasn't David. And that's how I kind of see the Sedona method. I feel like, again, like we're already whole, complete, and perfect. And so we're just chipping away at the stuff on the outside that isn't us, that's gotten attached to us somehow, but we can let all that go. And then that which we are appears or is uncovered. And that's kind of how I like to tell people about the Sedona method. I think it's a nice metaphor.
Beautiful metaphor.
That's really beautiful. Yes.
Yeah. And if you've seen David in real life, it's just like awe-inspiring. So
Oh, that's a really beautiful image. Yes.
Allowing the perfection that is to simply emerge and to be as it is.
that's a beautiful way you put that. Yes.
Hmm.
I like that.
Yeah. That is. That's so beautiful when you kind of, you said, just going back to the beginning for a tiny bit, like you said too, that you had tried all sorts of self-help, and I did my share like 20 years before I found Sedona method, and they all seem to be, you are perfect and complete when, perfect and complete once you just do X, Y, Z.
Happiness in the future.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's here.
Well, and even coming from, because I came from a religious background where it's like, no, there is something wrong with you. And in order for there not to be something wrong with you, you need to do this. And that can be really painful too, because it's like, that's a big difference between the Sedona method and some other, like you were saying, Katya, self-help, where it's like, you're starting out whole and complete and enough. You're not starting out broken and in a bad place of who you are. You're starting out with like, no, you already are perfect. Now let's just get rid of the stuff that isn't you.
That is beautiful.
Very different approach. That's
Yes.
why it's so compelling. The Sedona method is compelling.
The other thing is, it's not a belief system. You don't need to believe anything. There's nothing that you actually have to accept or swear or anything like that. It's just try it. If it works, great. If not, move on.
Okay. Well, do we have time? So
Yeah.
that first conference I went to, even though I had done the super course and I was pretty much sold. I was also a little skeptical because I was like, is this a cult? I was kind of worried, like, oh my God, because I'm like, I don't know, cults freak me out. And so I was like, is this a cult? But by the end, I was like, well, there's no way this is a cult, because cult leaders don't believe a word I say, check this out for yourself. In fact, I don't want you to believe anything I'm telling you, And it's like, I loved that. I was just like, that's brilliant. So this is not a cult. Exactly. You don't have to have any belief. You don't have to buy any of it. Just check it out for yourself.
See, I also can't imagine a cult leader that has such a wonderful and deep and ridiculous laugh as Hale does. It's hard to take him seriously in that sense. It's like, really? But really?
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love his laugh.
I think cults are always deadly serious, actually,
Yeah. And very works oriented. A lot of musts and shoulds and have tos. And of course, we know the Sedona method is all about letting go of the musts and shoulds and have tos. So.
And don't forget the us's and them's. Oof.
Yeah, the exclusivity of cults. Yeah.
Oh my. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anyone has said that before, but this is not a cult.
I've never heard anybody say anything like it. It strikes me as absurd, actually, but yeah.
Yeah.
My parents were worried that I would be joining a cult when I said I'm going for the first retreat.
Mhm.
Obviously, I'm not sure how well they know what a cult is to begin with, but kind of obviously it sounded really weird. Like, what are you going to do there? Well, I'm not sure. We are going to sit there. There'll be people all around the world. And what do you do? Well, we sit there and we release. What? Well, our feelings, thoughts. Oh, like, well, it just happens. So
It is
no
kind
one,
of hard to explain what you do at a
yes,
retreat.
yes. And in one retreat, first ones I went, it was in Holland, and it was in a hotel in Manor Road, and there were other groups and people as well, smaller ones, and they dined with us or had to lunch in the same time and we would have this biggest hall, and they would come to us in the breaks and say, "What on earth are you doing? Because you are laughing so much." And I think that was that kind of was also so beautiful in this, that there's so much laughter. It isn't serious. There's laughter and joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, we come to see the self and the problems as deeply hilarious. No.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
It is a blessing. Well, thank you, Rhonda. It has been great to have you here, and we are looking forward to meeting you in several different occasions in the community.
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Very nice to talk with you both.
Thank you for
Yeah, we'll
coming.
see you soon.
Yes.
Good. See you